Broadcasting from the Hair Salon corporate offices, it's the Suzanne Venker Show, where men and women are equal in value but wildly different by nature. Drop the junk you've been fed from the culture and join us here every week as we help you and the people you love feel secure in your beliefs about what you know is right and confident in your desire to speak your mind. I have a couple of quick podcast updates. One is that this year I am rolling out a plan to take the Suzanne Venker Show to the next level. And my goal is not only to keep the show commercial free, but also to continue to provide you with incredible guests and to ramp up promotion in order to expand the reach of my show. In order to do this, I'm going to begin accepting donations from listeners. So whether you're able to donate $5, $20, or $50 per month, your donation will go straight to funding this mission for my podcast. This is also the only way for me to potentially make the podcast a video as well as an audio, which I know some of you have asked about. And you'll also have an opportunity to advertise your business or product with a mention on the show if you sign up for that particular plan. We are also adding a call of the day. So if you'd like to leave a voicemail with a question or a comment for me, which I will then read and respond to on the podcast, you can call 314-391-8988. That's 314-391-8988. This is a free call, and it's sort of like email of the day, but instead of email, you will actually hear your question or comment played on the air. So to get that information for both of those things, the Patreon and the call of the day, just go to Suzanne Venker, SuzanneVenker.com/podcast, and that information is all right there for you. So today on the show, we are going to discuss what your husband's doing when he's doing nothing, and other important facts about men that are rarely, if ever, acknowledged, let alone discussed. And we have Andre back after several weeks for this very important conversation. Welcome back, Andre.
Thank you. Good morning.
It's so nice to see you. It's so great. I think this is going to work out really well to move to once a month because, you know, whatever. People want to have some guests on. That's great. And then I have time to miss you. And then here you are back again. It's great.
Woo, woo.
Yay. Okay.
Love it.
So, one of the first things I got this idea to do this podcast about men specifically because I feel so strongly that because we only get so much junk from wherever in the culture, obviously, but from different sources about women and what women need and about how men can transform themselves into being better boyfriends or husbands or whatever, and then telling women about what they have to endure with men, and we laugh at men as sort of in a way that's just supposed to be kind of tongue-in-cheek, but of course it's not. It can be very insulting. But the bigger issue is that I just know how wrong I believe people are, specifically women, and in the way we've taught young women, about men. That they're just so misunderstood that it's insane. So let's start with this idea that women have that men are selfish, untrustworthy, or insecure because that's what the culture teaches them, or that's what their maybe mother taught them growing up. I mean, just these negative ideas that men are sort of lesser versions of women, if you will.
Right.
And that they need coaching and teaching from women on as to how to be a good person or a better person or what have you.
Right.
And this all comes from bad experiences, in my opinion, that women have had with men. And then rather than understanding what happened, they just get very bitter, and then they pass that on to someone, and that gets passed on to someone, and that gets passed on to someone. Next thing you know, we just have men all wrong. So let's start with the idea that men are untrustworthy, which of course is a biggie because of course you have a whole generation of women raised to believe that they cannot depend on men, and that really the undercurrent of that is that they're not trustworthy.
I'm going to tell you one thing you can't count on men to be is like a woman.
There you go.
First, this is where the problems start. To me, like what I see all the time is women not knowing. This is not how men respond. This is not how men act. Your girlfriend, your mother, right? So women expect men or want men to act like them because it's nicer, it's sweeter, it's more connecting, it's more talkative, it's more feeling based. You know what I mean? So women want men to be more like them so they can connect with them emotionally, typically. But that's not man. That's unrealistic vision of man that is impossible. So if women can't connect, can't feel comfortable with men in the way the men are, they blame the man. So that's a natural jump. Like, we have to fix them,
and
right?
Right, because this idea that they won't meet your needs, right? Because they are naturally selfish, or like, think about sex, for example. You know, I mean, that's a big one. All men want is sex, that kind of thing. Instead of understanding what actually sex means to a man. Instead, you're just this sex-hungry human, rather than there's a reason why you're so sexual and what it means for you. So let's just start there.
Well, God, let's start there. That's a big one to start with.
I know. I didn't have it on my list, but I liked it, so I just went with it.
No, it's factual, right? It's funny. I teach this women all the time, like, how do you date nowadays? It's confusing. Who pays? Who doesn't pay? Who makes a date? Who's there? Should you go after him? Should you wait for him? Right? And one of the big mess up, or again, not knowing, miscommunication, assumptions that, men want sex. They always want sex, And I say, well, yeah, the good guys and the players always want sex. Like, it's a manly thing, right? It's because this is how, I've said this to you before. I think you know this. A normal woman needs to feel connected to a guy in order to have sex.
Yep.
Right? Emotionally feel somewhat connection to them. She can't just,
Yep.
Well, men connect emotionally through their bodies with sex.
Complete opposite.
So this is the drive.
That's the whole. Sorry, that's the whole sex. Men give sex to get love, or no, vice versa.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right? Women give sex to get love. And men give love to get sex. Right. Yeah. Right. Complete opposite.
So the mechanism is, but it's so like in our DNA. This is how men. If you think of, to be feminine is more heart-centered, to be masculine to be more head-centered, right? We both do both, but men live in their heads all the time. And what are the ways that men get out of their heads and feel something in life? And I do a lot of men's work, and men are complaining that they feel nothing. They're numb to the world because they're always stuck in their heads. And so the balance, be able to balance being heady, calculated, planning, plotting, money, career, life, the logistics, right? That's masculine. Women do this as well, and they get stuck there, which is a problem. But when men are stuck in their heads, instinctively, naturally, that's how our natural operating system, the idea that the only way out of our heads is you ladies. The only way out of our heads into our heart is when a woman comes in front of you with a big smile, and you go, right? And also like, instantly I'm present. I'm not thinking anymore. I'm like right with her, right? Like feminine energy. Yeah. Oh, a smile. Yeah. Oh, like, right. So the whole idea of sexually connecting is to really get us out of our freaking heads.
Yeah.
And this is when we get to feel alive. And there's a lot of dopamine in sex, and that's all part of the cocktail that we're looking for. Good guys, bad guys. First, we want sex to get out of our heads. Yes. But that's not all we want. That's not all you.
So it's like there's something behind the image or the concept that people have been taught. So for example, one of the things that I think moving away from sex for a second, will surprise some people is to understand how much men live to serve and to please, because they are so held up as these selfish, power hungry, sex hungry people that seems opposite of that. But in fact, that's what I mean by this image is just completely wrong. Particularly when men are married. I'm thinking, of course, more within marriage, because I do think there's a shift there between a single man and a married man. I think you would agree with that. But they live to serve and to please, right?
We're neurotic about it. If from the very get-go, the male identity starts with hero. We want to be heroes. Right. We want to be heroes to our the people in our world. We want to be heroes in our businesses. We want to be the man. So there's a pulse of that, right? So, and that's providing, protecting, being heroes, being the guy, being the man. That's the goal. The misunderstanding here again is that for that conquering of life, right? Guess what we do? We go up in our heads, right? We don't talk about it. We plan it. We plot it. And so the shutdown that women feel, the disconnect that a lot of women feel with men, or lack of connection, it's because men live up in their heads and process on their own. Ladies process out loud with talking. Yeah. So you want the verbal processing that makes you feel connected and safe. we don't function that way. So a lot of women make the big mistake to think because men don't speak much, that means that men don't think much. It means they're shallow, selfish, self-centered, disconnected, blah, blah, blah. It's all wrong. It's not understanding. It's not understanding a man's way of operating. He's not a girl. He's not going to do it your way.
So being a hero requires, of course, well, there's two things I'm thinking of. Number one, it's not that whole providing and protecting thing. It's not just about providing money either, right? It's about providing anything that will make the woman's life easier or better, whether it's money related or not.
Everything the man invented was for women.
Yes.
From cars,
Bingo.
dishwashers, to paint, to houses, to walls, to keep you safe, to security system, to air conditioning. That's all created for women by men.
Yep.
And those are the men, by the way, who control their sexual energy, and that's how they use that energy to create life, the world, culture as we know it. Men. It's
such a huge,
so beautiful.
Yes, but such a huge flip on the cultural crap. And that's, of course, why we love this, because it's so affirming and empowering to know not only this information, but to hear it is uplifting as opposed to what you get from the crap you get from the culture, which is completely opposite. Okay, so that's why, by the way, it's so necessary for women to express their need for help, right? Or if you don't have the need, then just fake a need. Big deal. Just pretend like you need help. These are the kind of things your grandmothers would tell your mothers or grandmothers would tell their daughters, like, even if you can do it, just make him think that he's doing it for you, right? So there's we scoff at that and we think that's funny, but this is wisdom, This is tried and true experience that women have had over years of being married to men that they pass down to their daughters to try to help them have a better relationship themselves, right? And a better marriage.
Yeah. I mean, it's knowing what works.
Right.
So women make the mistake to think that men's little egos are so fragile. I have to pump them up all the time to be okay. That's not it, right? It's the fact that if you understand that he's coming from a hero and wants to provide, and wants to be proud of, because when he provides and he helps, when you let him help, when you ask for help, that makes him feel like a man because he gets, look what I did,
yes.
right? So there's boasting in that for him. It's like he feels important, he feels needed, he feels like a man. Well, that's pretty damn good. Like, what's wrong with that? If that's all it takes, ask for help, watch him puff up because he's going to feel important, and he gets to provide something which makes him feel masculine and, pumps him up. Like, what is wrong with that? So it's like to me, like if you go to France, you're not going to get your food because you yell louder in English. Right?
You have
to speak the language. You have to speak the language.
That's good. That's great.
Factual. So a lot of women think this manipulative to know how men work and just do it. It's not. It's what works.
Yes, it's what works.
Speaking the right language that actually they understand. Again, if you yell louder in the wrong language, they don't hear you. They can't.
Great.
That's not how it works.
That's not how it works. Oh my God.
You see it?
Yes.
So, but that's what women do, right? They nag, they get louder, they go after him. They're understanding that's not how it works.
It's not working.
You're speaking the wrong language. You're yelling in English to somebody who speaks French.
You're yelling in English to somebody who speaks French. I love it. That's really good, Andre. See, Andre, that's why I have you here. I don't think of these automatic analogies so quickly. That's not really my thing. I'm not so good at that. That's great.
It's for me. It's really like the different. We talk about men speak differently, men listen differently, and women absolutely. Yeah. When you put that together, you go, oh, so you have to go learn if you want it to work.
Definitely. Okay, so let's talk about what I titled this episode about men watching television. I have a little bit to say about this. Okay, I titled it "What Your Husband's Doing When He's Doing Nothing," and if there's one thing that gets a wife worked up more than anything else, it's watching a guy do nothing. When you got married, things were perfect. You were both in love and life was good. Then somewhere along the line, everything changed. She changed, or maybe he did. Either which way, now your relationship feels, well, hard. I coach husbands and wives who feel lonely, disrespected, or misunderstood in their relationship. So many women today are desperate for their husbands to step up to the plate, to make a decision and to stick to it, to lead rather than to follow. Ladies, you have the power to make it happen. Men respond best to women who are grounded in their feminine core. As for husbands, so many of them want their wives to stop nagging and to just trust them, to smile more and to complain less, to look at them the way they did when they were first dating. Men, you have the power to make it happen. Women respond best to men who are grounded in their masculine core. The secret to lasting love rests in the masculine-feminine dance. Once you master it, your relationship will no longer be difficult. You'll be moving with the biological tide rather than against it, and that makes marriage smooth sailing. If you're struggling in your relationship, if you feel frustrated or alone, I can help. Just go to SuzanneVenker.com, that's SuzanneVenker.com, and click on the coaching button at the top. Don't wait another minute to acquire the mindset you need to find love and to sustain it. It's so much easier than you think. That's SuzanneVenker.com. You know, if there's one thing that gets a wife worked up more than anything else, it's watching a guy do nothing. There's this guy, I can't remember his name, and he does this routine, and it's very funny, and he said that exact thing, and it was really, really funny, because women do relate to that. They know what that means. Wives in particular. I think it doesn't really kick in until you're married, so this wouldn't necessarily apply if you're not married. But it took me a long time to realize what exactly is going on when a man is watching television. And that is that he is a single focus creature. And as you just said, the providing and the protecting and the making and the doing and all of that is his number one thing. And then when he needs a break from that, and he will, and almost invariably, at least in my household, I can't speak to every household, he'll turn on the television for some visual stimulation and to totally escape. And in that escape, what's happening, Andre? Help women understand that that's not doing nothing. He's actually doing something, even though it looks like he's doing something.
It's very, very important. It's interesting because it's something that we have as male instinctively, naturally, that you don't have as women, which is terrible. It's such a beautiful mechanism. Because what happens is, you know, men, if they hold themselves accountable for making the money, being out there in the world, pushing and fighting, right? That typically males have been doing this for, 2.5 million years. So there's an instinct in that. Women do the flip side typically, but we could all do both. But if you let us go, we typically go to our typical, right?
Corners.
So
yeah.
What happens to men is this: their ability to focus on one thing at a time until it's done. It's like the hunter, right? The hunter goes hunting, and until he comes back with a prey or something to eat, he's going to be out there, sometimes for 3 days, because that's the point of going out and feeding everybody. Providing whatever he's providing, he gets stuck. We actually get locked into that until it's done. Well, that's the hunter brain. The gatherer brain can do 7, 8 things at the same time.
Yep.
I've had women say to me, my husband is obviously a moron because he can only do one thing at a time. I'm like, darling, that's like so rude. That is completely rude. It's actually completely understanding nothing about men. And by the way, single focus, we call this, is essential in dangerous situations.
Exactly.
In case
flying
of fire,
a plane, landing a plane.
Seriously, right? Like single focus is a must for especially in an emergency situation. But it's how we get things done. That's not how you get things done. That doesn't make it wrong. That makes it a different operating system. Now, the funny thing about this is how men do. They focus on things. It's like this. Okay, get it done, right? Like it goes from focus, one thing, and then there's a disconnect. There's a transition. Then it goes focus on something else, and it could be different focuses one at a time. Mowing the lawn is one thing. Come in, get a drink, go back outside and fix the garage door. I'm fixing the garage door. Don't come talking to me about our relationship at this time. I'm fixing the garage door, right? Wait for a break. Right? So pull focus, get something else. Pull focus, get something else. At work, that's all we do at work. One thing that's interesting is that focus takes a lot of energy, as you know. As a woman, is the energy, the focus. We do it instinctively, but it takes a lot of energy. We have an instinct in our bodies that says at the end of the day, after putting 7, 8, 10 hours after traffic, because getting on the road and getting back home is another mission, right? So when men get home, we have an in our body instinct to go sit, and Dr. John Gray makes fun of us. He says we have a switch on our backs. Like when we sit down, and the switch goes click off. And what happens is chemically, it takes 30 to 60 minutes for our bodies to recover the testosterone that we just burned throughout the day.
And
that's when men sit on the couch.
And this is why never to say or try to have a conversation in those first 30 minutes because he'll get very upset. Yeah.
Yeah, he's transitioning, he's defragging. Often the TV is on, but he's not watching. Mm-hmm. And you'll say sometimes to a guy sitting on the couch, which makes you crazy because there's so many things that you see needs to be done that he's not helping.
Right.
But in that moment, his body is rejuvenating completely, 30 to 60 minutes before he can think and talk about anything else, typically, depending how long the day's been. And then sometimes the TV's not on. He's just sitting there and you go, what are you thinking about? And he goes, nothing. And you're like, what kind of moron did I? Well, no, that's just his body shutting down. It's in our DNA. This is how we recover. This is how we build.
What would you say to someone who said or asked you? So, okay, Andre, I'm listening to. I'm hearing the wives like out there right now going, okay, so Andre, let's say it's a Saturday or Sunday, as opposed to Wednesday night at 7.
Yep.
How long is too long to be watching TV before you can say something? That's what I hear them saying. Like, how long is he quote unquote allowed to do that? Yeah.
Beautiful question. Okay. Now, this is another problem that men operate in the way that you don't, and that they don't tell you about it because they don't talk. They don't talk not because they don't care, it's because they have no need to share this.
Right.
But on the weekend, especially, the moment the man's off for work, right? Mm-hmm. By Friday night, he has exactly an idea what he's going to do Saturday.
Okay. Yes.
He knows already. It's already planned.
Yes.
So me, I'll sleep in. I'll probably get up at around 8:30 or 9. I'm going to putz around, have breakfast. I'm going to wash my car, maybe shower, and then I'm going to watch the game from noon till 4. That's a plan, right? So you can't come in that plan and say, I need you to fix the roof. He's like, no, that's not part of the plan. And then you'll get the attitude because you're trying to ruin his plan. There's already planned from the day before. And women go, he's such a jerk. He's just sitting there all day. I'll find that he's around me this weekend, and I need him to do something, and he won't do it.
I'm laughing. Yes, I'm laughing because my husband's the reverse. It takes him all Saturday morning to rev himself up for what he needs to do all afternoon. So, whereas I don't stop. So I'm a terrible example because I'm extreme in the other way, and I'm certainly not expecting that at all. In fact, I've come to really understand all of this, so I'm pretty easy about it now. But it is funny to watch how it literally will take him all Saturday morning to be able to do what he wants to do all afternoon. It's really interesting.
Well, and again, it's another way.
And that's him. Not everybody.
It's another way of resting. It's another way of recuperating, resting from the week's long work, right? Like, I am the same. I need all morning to basically just not have anything planned.
Yeah.
I do not want planning. If I have to drive my daughter to class at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, I'm not working because now I'm going, she has to be there at 10. We have to meet her by 9:30, which means she has to be ready by 9. That's work to me. I'm working.
Yes. I can't. Oh my gosh. So many arguments over the years about not arguments, but him telling me, I don't want anything on the calendar. Like nothing. Nada. So I'm like, so to me, a calendar of nothing might be a couple of things. His calendar is literally nothing. Yes. So he's been really happy in this coronavirus period. Right. Considerably, because we literally can't go anywhere or do anything.
Do you see it, though?
Yes.
Do you see it?
Yeah.
So, a lot of guys are like this. Depending how much their work is demanding, their downtime is precious. And part of, recovering is not having anything on the freaking schedule.
Yes. Yeah.
Again, driving my daughter to class at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning is work. I'm already working. This is scheduled in. I'm working. It's on me.
It's like it's a responsibility, is what you mean, and just you want
to make it happen.
Right? Yes. It's not work in the traditional sense. It's a responsibility. You have to be somewhere at a certain time, as opposed to having nothing on your plate.
That register as work. So for me, recovering is no schedule.
Yes.
So, and I'll do this till about noon or 1, and then I have to get something done because I'm now antsy because I need to get stuff done. Now, by the way, ladies, this is how you get this done. When you understand this dynamic, you could actually negotiate this dynamic.
Yes.
So you go, babe, just, what's your plans for tomorrow?
Yeah. Totally.
Set him up, right? Yep. He's going to go, we'll get up late, but, so assume if you know him well enough that he's probably no good till noon or 11 o'clock, whatever, right? He's going to do what he wants to do. Some guys are different. Some guys get up early and just go hiking.
Yep.
Because that's the reward for the week. They go hiking, they go play, they go to the gym, right? Some guys are active early in the morning. Some guys are not active in the morning. So same with the women. But depending, so you know what you have, right? So you know his frame up. So if you want help that day in the afternoon, then you have to put yourself on his plan the day before for the afternoon.
Absolutely.
So I know I'm sure you have a plan. This is what you said. I'm sure you have a plan. However, I need your help if you don't mind with this and this. Can we put that part of your plan for tomorrow? Like, it really is important for me, and I need you. Like, I can't do this without you.
Right. I've gotten really good at writing notes.
Right.
Like this needs to be done. Like, it doesn't have a time or deadline. It's just this is something that needs to be tended to, and asking him if it's a good time to do this or that, or is it a good time to talk or whatever. I'm getting really much better with that. Again, completely clueless the first 18 years of our marriage. It's been 22 years, so this is still somewhat new. This asking of, is it okay to talk to you now?
Well, asking for an appointment, asking for time to speak. There's something I want to talk to you about. When's a good time? Because if he's watching TV, that's not a good time. If he's actually planning on going onto the car or anything, and it's amazing.
It's amazing how when I forget, and I'm just because I'm in the middle of doing something, and he happens to be in the vicinity, and I say something, invariably it takes 30 minutes to undo ourselves from the fight that ensues. It's not really a fight, but like a conflict or whatever you want to call it that's ensuing just from having said it at the wrong time for no other reason. It wasn't even the content. So just timing it changes everything.
You have to set him up so he can be present to that. Otherwise, when you blindside him because he's up in his head, he's got a plan already. Whether he's just sitting there watching the game, that's a plan.
Right.
He has a plan.
And to me, it was just, you're sitting there, so I'm going to...
No, he's doing exactly what he planned the day before, typically. So, anything that you do, when you blindside him, by the way, it's rude because you're interrupting whatever he's planning, doing, or not doing on purpose. That's why you want to make an appointment with him, because you set him up for him to hear you and be available and present. Yeah. So whatever he's planning, in the middle of, even if he's just sitting there, you go, babe, I need your help with something, when's a good time to talk to you about this?
Right.
And you might say, hold on the commercial, or hold on, I have to go to the store first, hold on, and it may take 2 hours, but he'll come back and go, so? When he's good and ready, but now he's present, and now he's ready to hear you, and he's going to be compelled, he's listening. Otherwise,
I can vouch for it. I mean,
but it feels like it's a slap in the head.
Yeah.
If I'm doing nothing, I'm watching TV, or I'm like planning what I'm going to do in the store, making my whap. It's a smack in the head.
And you have to understand. I mean, no women. I don't think wives are trying. They don't really get that. No. They're not trying. Right. To them, first of all, they don't sit and watch TV as much, just as a general, because they're moving constantly and they don't relax enough. Yeah, too much to do. Yeah. So there's that. And then if they were to do that, because of the way they are, being able to do several things at once, it wouldn't disturb them to be asked something in the middle of it. So they just automatically assume that it wouldn't be that way for you. So it's not an intentional, mean thing.
No,
it's just,
no.
They don't. So anyway, that's why we do what we're doing here, is to say.
It's a not knowing again. It's always a not knowing.
Yeah.
That's not how it works for him. That's how it works for you.
Okay, so here's another big wonderful thing about men that women can't unfortunately claim as well. They don't tend to nag and complain when they want something. That's not their way of doing things, is it?
Mm-mm.
So hearing it is so foreign to them because they don't relate. I mean, you could turn this around from the TV thing. They don't relate to needing to nag, to wanting to complain, to get something out of you. Like, that's not how they would do things. So when you do it that way, it's like, it's bad, needless to say, because they freak out. They don't want to be nagged, obviously. But also, it's just one of those things that I think that women should emulate, right? Be more like. We talk so much about how men need to adopt female traits or be more like women. This is what you hear in the culture, as though they're lesser beings and need to come up to where we are because we're so above you.
Train them right.
Yeah, it's such crap, because there's so many things that men have that we can learn from. No, when was the last time you heard that women should emulate qualities that men have? I don't think I've ever heard it.
Right. No, you're right. And that's, again, just the not knowing and assuming that he's like you. So about nagging, I want to say it's fantastic. Why do men resist nagging? It's insulting, because what you're doing is you're mothering him. Right? So ladies, simply said, you can ask something. Again, make sure that you have his attention first. If you made an appointment, that's usually how he can hear you, as opposed to when he's doing something else, and chances are he's not going to hear you, or he's not able to retain, the time frame that you required, as of Can you take me to the store at 2:00? Well, he might not hear that 2:00 part if you don't have his attention.
Yes.
Right? So two things. So nagging, it goes like this. You can ask him once. If you have his attention, you know what I mean? Like, he'll hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's going to put that, whatever it is you're asking, then he has to put that on his timeline because he's planned the day already. Even if plan the day is nothing, doing nothing from the afternoon, right? Like, that's a plan.
Yeah.
Right? So then you might want to, if he said, yes, sure, a little bit later on, and you think he forgot because he might have, that happens, you could remind him a second time. Do you remember what I asked you earlier? Oh, right? And from there, stop. Because now if you nag him, which means you're mothering him, he's actually going to resist it. Sounds ridiculous, but that's sort of like, because that's disrespectful. So I say this, you ask him once, you remind him twice, and then you put it on a piece of paper and you go, I have your little list for you here.
Yeah. In fact, I've taken to not even asking. I just put it on the paper, and he puts it right where you can see him in the kitchen.
And then you go, right, by the way, this is your list. When you have a second, look it over.
Right.
And what's going to happen is what's on the list will become part of his plan the next day or so. And all of a sudden, like, you get everything you want done without nagging because you put on this list, and he knows that that's important to you, and he's going to put that in his plan as he needs to, as he readjusts his day.
But so let's reverse this and think about this from the angle that we don't normally hear. So let's say a man wanted something from the wife.
Yeah.
How is he going to go about getting it? It's not going to be nagging and complaining, is it?
No. What men typically do, again, they're in their heads, right? Up in their heads. You don't know what they're thinking, right? And then, something important just came up. He just remembered, and he doesn't want to forget, right? He's going to go right to you, right? And he'll start talking.
Oh,
so
yes,
he's going to start talking.
Yes,
he's going to set up to come up to you because now it's urgent because he just remembered it, or he's just like he doesn't want to forget. So he comes to you like it's urgent, and he starts talking. He's going to tell you what he needs you to do, or what he needs you to remind him of, or whatever, right? And women will go, oh, right? But the difference is the conversation for you will make you available. Coming up to you is not a problem, typically, right? Even if you're in the middle of something, you have the capacity to still hear.
Yes.
Right? You're present instantly because of your...
And this is where understanding these differences is so key, because it would be very easy for someone to say, well, that's not fair. He doesn't have to do that for me. I mean, I can't interrupt him. How come he can interrupt me? And which is a very childish attitude, because if you understand the differences between men and women, you wouldn't have that response, which is the whole point of
French.
Yeah.
Speak French, not louder in English.
Yes.
You have to speak his language. In his language, he knows what it's urgent for him. Man's needs and often is immediate and urgent. Like they think of something and, oh shit, right now, right?
Yep.
Right to you. And that's when you go, he's been sitting on the couch for 45 minutes. He's not saying a word, but now I have to listen to what he's saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's how he's present. And he knows that you have the capacity to hear him even though you're busy.
Yeah.
So he assumes, that
you can handle it, that we can handle it or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go. Because you can.
Okay.
You actually can.
All right. Moving on. Next one. This is a biggie. I think I've written about this. It's been a little while. The power of silence. That because women talk so much and men don't, we assume, like I said, that they don't have as much to say, or they're not as deep, or they're not as whatever. And in fact, something is happening in that silence. And one of the things that I've encouraged women to do is this was big in the Alpha Females Guide, hey, don't necessarily speak every thought you have. Try to swallow or hold in probably at least 50% of what you want to say. And see how that works in your relationship, because things are going to come of that silence. It's very powerful, and it's something that men know instinctively. It's not a negative; it's a positive. We can copy that and learn from men.
It is beautiful. It's again, in a nutshell, with that, for a woman, the conversation, whether you're processing out loud, this is what you do with your girlfriends. You process out loud your thoughts and your feelings. Well, you do that with men, you actually put him to work. For him now, he has to process that and try to work it out with you. His natural problem-solving mind is going to try to fix whatever you're talking about if you're talking with a problem.
Yes.
right? So then now you're making him work. That's not relaxing. For you, the connection makes you feel safe. For him, the conversation
It's
often
taxing.
puts him to work. It's taxing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if it's silence instead, how to explain? I mean, I can see it up close. But I do find it difficult to explain exactly how that silence is working in your favor. Maybe you can do a better job.
Yeah. So get this. We talked about this earlier, right? A woman needs to feel connected, to be good, right? You connect by talking. Men connect with their physiology to be good. So women miss this all the time, Sitting, when a guy says, sit with me on the couch, and you're thinking, well, that's pointless because he's not talking to me.
Yeah.
He's just watching TV. He's not focused on me. So that's pointless. You just missed it.
Yep.
He wants you next to him because if a man lets you in his presence, in his space, that's connection to him.
Mm-hmm.
And that connection is more quality, a better quality if you're not talking.
Mm-hmm.
If we're not talking,
mm-hmm.
the silence is the point. It's just being physically together in the same space that he could actually indulge in that and actually this is like him sitting on the couch with this woman. That's a reward for him. Talking will interrupt that.
And also in that silence, not necessarily if you're watching TV together, but literally, let's say you're in a room or you're in a car and you want to say something, but you don't. It gives space for him. You might think he's not thinking anything, right? But in fact, he is. And
constantly.
And it makes him more receptive 5 minutes in after you've been quiet. So it's like something's going on in that silence that for us may not feel natural. But actually, it's not a waste of time. You're actually gaining by holding your tongue. It's very powerful.
I know there's a lot of intimacy in that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The moment you start, the moment you introduce conversation, it becomes it's not a rewarding thing. Now it's a working thing again. He has to think, he has to process, he has to, right? It's in the silence that he can appreciate your company. I hate to say it, but silence is preferred with men. Women know this, not because they're shallow, not because they don't feel anything. It's the exact opposite. It's in that we delight in being with you and feeling good with you. So women often make the mistake of, a guy say, you want to come to the store with me? Yeah. And she's like, where are you going? Home Depot. Oh, I don't want to go there. Well, you missed it. Yeah. What he's asking there is spend time with me. He's asking for intimacy with you, right? If he lets you in his space, that's what he's looking for. On the couch, whether you're reading a book or, on your tablet, whatever, if he wants you close to him without talking, he's trying to connect with you. It's the beginning of intimacy for men.
Very important.
Without talking. In the car, go for a walk. I don't want to go for a walk. It's cold. You just missed it. When men ask you to be with them, this is how they connect. It's a small version of connecting with their bodies to sex. You see it? That's the beginning of it. That's the
foreplay.
Essential.
That's the foreplay.
That's a foreplay. That's sort of him. Yeah. This is his idea of intimacy, casual intimacy. Mm-hmm. For you, it's talking. For him, it's just be with me.
Right. Okay. Moving on. This is another one.
Whew.
Okay. I had a long list. See how great men are? We just never get to hear it. All right. They are so forgiving. Oh, my lordy. It is so easy to turn a man around from being mad to happy with you again. I'd like to know how many men can say that about their wives.
Yeah, that's so
women
much.
Hold on to things, right? They remember things.
Well, they remember everything since 1949.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't. They give up on trying to get women to turn around quickly or whatever because they're going to hold on to that. You can turn a man around in 5 minutes flat after an argument. It's all up to you. If that, 60 seconds.
Well, because for us, there's no. This is how we do man on man, by the way, right? If there's a conflict, we go at each other, whether it's verbally or physically, right? It's swinging and boom, bang, boom. There's a bit of a fight, and then it's over.
Yep.
And typically, now we're buddies because whoever got put in this place, now we know who's, there's a status in that, and it's okay, we know who the man is, and we'll go, and I'll become partners, right? So there's for men, conflict is conflict shows up, you battle it out, and it's over, and actually now we're actually friends again.
Now Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, so when you have a fight with a man, and he forgives you, it actually literally goes away. It's gone in the universe. It's fixed. It's diluted. It's gone. There's no bringing it back 2 years later. Remember that time, right?
Yeah.
We took care of this already. That's man's brain. We let it go. Well, this part of left over from being a cave woman cannot afford to let things go just for your own safety at some level. So it's a cave woman default system. It's not. It sounds terrible or not helpful because you're going to keep bringing things back that has already been fixed as far as he's concerned. That's why he gets mad. But there's a certain amount of keeping you safe in that for women. So your brain's wired this way on purpose. Okay, but men don't work that way at all.
Don't work that way. And I should point out that, I mean, obviously, as always, when we're talking about these things, there are exceptions to the rule. I am absolutely very much like a guy in this one respect. I drop something the second afterwards. I just happen to know that women don't typically do that. That's been my experience. I'm unusual. You can be reversed. It's just typically not, you know, and
typically not, 80-20 law. Everything, 80% of 80% of everybody is, you know, typically running a certain way. 20%, not so much. Yeah. So guess what? You're a 20%er.
I am a 20%er. There I am, a 20%.
Good for you.
Okay.
Good for you. Good for you.
Okay, another one. What's that saying that men marry women hoping they never change and women marry men hoping they can change them? That's what this has to do with. There's an acceptance that men find more easy to do than women do in terms of other people's flaws. So men are less likely to point out your flaws or to try and change those flaws to make them not flaws or whatever than women are with men. I think that's a beautiful difference. I think that's something that we can learn from men as to, I mean, you really stop and think about that. Like, why are they able to be so accepting of their wives or the woman they love's flaws? I don't know if I'm saying that right. What keeps them from commenting on it or focusing on it when it's so easy for women to do the reverse of that?
Right. Well, it's
a negative thing to be sorry. No, it's a negative thing to focus on someone's flaws. So that's what I mean when I say we can learn from men in this way.
Yeah. Well, it's again in a nutshell. If you're gonna round it up, like men. You know, if whatever character or temperament you have as a woman, if the guy is, in a relationship with you, he already knows these things, and they're not deal breakers. Otherwise, he wouldn't be there. So there's from the very beginning, if you're his woman, he's accepted you in all the ways that you are, and he's not thinking, God, I wish he was more like this. He's always accepted it. Otherwise, he would not be there. So that's sort of like it's done. It's kind of done, right? She's a pain in the butt when it comes to this.
Yeah.
And oh Lord, every time she talks to her mother, she goes crazy, and then she ruins the afternoon because that's all she could talk about. But hey, that's my wife. You know what I mean? That's how it is, right? Yeah. Like it's not fun, but he's going to adjust accordingly and or get out of the way accordingly for the things that don't work for him. But he knows what he's, But because again, this is sort of like the approaching it in a logical, masculine, up in your head kind of way. Like, this is what it is. Yeah, that's all.
Right.
This is what she is. That's all. This is what happens to her when this happens to her. This is right. But women being feeling driven, right? Your feelings run your show. When you feel bad, you just feel bad. And nobody could say, well, stop feeling that way. Because this is when the guy says, why did that bother you? You want to kill him because he's trying to keep you from feeling what you're feeling, which is all you could be at that moment. So what happens to women is when you feel bad, and it's because something he said or didn't say or did or didn't do, then he's the one who's wrong because you feel bad. What he did makes you feel bad. So no, he has to change. You see the difference?
I think this has a lot to do with why women initiate 70% of divorce. That's what I was trying to say. And people, and this is the case even going back in history. I mean, divorce has always been more initiated by women, and I think this is why. Because they're very, very feeling focused and oriented on what they're not getting and what they want that they can't have in this person or what have you, whereas men are more accepting of it. And so that wouldn't...
Like I said, the guy wouldn't be there otherwise.
Like he's made up his mind. Once the decision's made, it's made.
Yeah, she's okay. She's just this. Doesn't he knows exactly what's... there's nothing to change about that. There's an acceptance of this. But again, we're not feeling driven. For you, being feeling driven, and if you keep feeling bad because of his action... What he does, what he doesn't say, like all of a sudden his fault. He's the one creating the pain. He's the one making you mad. He's the one. So you see it?
Yep.
So it's again two different machines.
Okay. And the last one, I know, one more. In fact, from the culture, you'd get this idea that men, particularly now with what's going on with women rising up and men falling behind, that men and or husbands can't handle women being successful.
Oh God!
I mean, you get that narrative over and over and again, and it's such crap. The vast majority of men, or the average man, is going to be extremely happy when his wife is successful at anything she does, because it's natural for him to want to support her and pump her up.
Yep.
But the culture tells us that men are the exact opposite and want to hold you down, and it's really probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, lie of the century, as far as I'm concerned.
It's an insult, such an insult.
Yep.
Right.
Completely backwards.
And if you talk about, what's happening in our culture the past, 40, 50 years, with all the rules changing, to favor women in every possible way, all made by men, all adopted by men, all changed by men. So who's trying to hold you down?
Exactly.
Not men.
Exactly. Well,
all the lawmakers have been men.
That's right. So, and I always say that it's men that have been. If you want to know who liberated women, it's men. It's not feminists.
Yes. Men made that happen. Right? The patriarchy that they like to blame has made that happen. Men wanted to provide, protect women, and if this is more fair, then let's fix it. If this is more equal, let's fix it.
Or if this makes her life better, invent it.
Let's fix it. Invent it. Create it. Build it.
Yep.
Sure. So it's not, like I said, and it cracks me up, the idea of that men are oppressing women. Like, no one has time for that, and no one would get out of their way for that. It would take energy that we don't have to spare. Like, period. Like, I have my life and my kids and my family to take care of. I don't have time to try to take a woman down one bit. Like, there's no one cares.
No one cares. I mean,
no one cares. Not one man I know.
And not one man I know. And I've always said this. I'm like, even my father, who was born in 1922, would never have tried to hold down or back my mom, who he couldn't have if he tried. But at any rate, it's insane. And it's just been this ongoing narrative that was really, truly believed by people. I genuinely think that they believe that. I don't think...
Yeah.
At least the ones who are who've been susceptible to that message. And again, this goes back to if they've been hurt in some way, or if their mothers instill this idea in them, or whatever. It's very hard to let go of these ideas that you've been. But the point is just that men are the complete opposite of what they've been taught. They are designed to support you. They want to support you. They will support you. Yes. They have supported you. No. They're going to support you.
They never stop doing that. Like, they want to be proud of you and stuff. Now, there is a small distinction here. I'm not sure if you want to put that here, because it's something I've discovered because I do all this work with women, and the idea of, like, when I speak at the entrepreneur women's group, and all these, there's a bunch of like women's support group, women in business group, women like this, they're all over the place. There's 1,000 going at all times around the United States, and there's a part of that belief that we just talked about is a lot of these women who are in business trying to push forward and build whatever, feel that their husband and their boyfriends don't support them. Now, there is a certain reality to this that I discovered, which is very interesting. I found this out about 2 years ago because it happened to me. When my wife, who's a dancer, works part-time, kind of disappeared from my life of almost 5 months because she double-signed contracts from the 2 schools. Remember that story? You did tell this story, but you can tell it again. So what happened is, in the realm of our the way we set up our relationship, where I do all the outside work mostly. I'm the one working 12-hour days, and she's the one having a part-time life and taking care of the family and the kids and all that beautiful stuff. There's sort of like, there's a flow to this, right? We've been together for many years, like 20 plus years, right? There's a dynamic in place. I need her to be present for me to be good when I come home. I want to be the companionship that I'm looking for, the love that I want, the hug when I come home, all the stuff that she provides, the warmth in the house and the beauty of her feminine being that connects us all together is essential for me to be well, and the kids as well. For the family unit to be really connected, like women do best. But when I lost my wife for months over some work crap that I wasn't aware of, and this is really where it sneaks in for most men, is her work all of a sudden took her away from us completely, like time-wise, energy-wise, and even when she was present, she was gone. You know what I mean? Even if she was in the house, she wasn't present anymore. This is very common for many people today. Right. So, like, I end up being sort of bent out of shape about where's my wife and what is this crap? And so what had happened is I find myself resenting her work. Wow, that's weird for me. I'm like, I support my wife. Like, I love the support. I mean, she's a ballerina. Like, that's important to her. That's her life. That's her, right? And all of a sudden anyway, so I figured it out that ultimately without talking to me, and that happens sometimes in women in career and businesses, it creeps up on them slowly, where if the dynamic of the relationship is already set, has a momentum of more classically plays, where he does more of the outside work and she does the other half, when that changes without a conversation or a new deal, men resent it, because all of a sudden everything they're there for, everything they're producing, providing for the woman, he doesn't get his other half back. And now that's when men resist and they'll give a crap about their life.
Well, how's that any different from the woman who's married to a man who literally is never home except to sleep, and she's doing all the work on the home front, especially if she has a bunch of kids by herself, and it's just too much. It's the same kind of, I mean, Anyway.
But that's an interesting one, because that's one that a big hook when women actually, are convinced that men are trying to not support them. Again, in my conversation, when you go deep, a little bit bigger, you might have changed the rules of your dynamic without talking to him, and he's resenting that. That's what he's resenting. Not your success, is the fact that
there's no relationship. You're not there.
Right. And then he's thinking, well, all this is more important than us now. No, so that's when they get passive aggressive and a bit resentful, and you'll feel it. So I'm just saying that's because women are encouraged to be at work and work like as hard as men. That becomes a problem.
Got it.
If you've not negotiated, I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's
big one.
It's a big one. Actually, I wrote about that in Women Who Win at Love we had some stories in there from people who, like many men who have affairs when their wives weren't around anymore. This is actually, the research shows that actually the women who make CEO level, unless the man's at that same place with her, and even sometimes if he is, will end up in the arms of someone else for very, very much that same reason. I mean, you had a very finite period of time where that went on, but if that's a permanent thing that goes on for years, that relationship is not going to go anywhere fast.
I had a couple that I work with, and he had an affair, and the first thing she said, I said, well, just find out what happened. And the first thing he said is, you're never here. Yeah. You're never here. Yeah. You're never here. I'm 58 years old. I want companionship. This is why I worked my whole life to support us to get here. And now that I'm here and I can relax into my, semi-retirement, you're never here.
I find that so fascinating that people actually believe, and I think this is true for Hollywood marriages, why you would think that a marriage can survive literally when you live alone, essentially, because the other person's gone 24/7. Like, just imagine waking up and going to sleep and waking up and going to sleep to an empty house and thinking, oh yeah, this is good. I'm good with this. Yeah, I can do this for like that. Yeah, this is great.
This is what I signed up for.
I mean, what the hell? You might as well be single.
And again, when men are older, they want more of that than ever. They want to relax. They want to slow down. They want the companionship more than ever.
Definitely.
And this is when women get super busy. Oh, we have a problem. Not to condone that, this is like, okay. It's a mechanical. So this is what happens. Pay attention.
Okay.
Make a deal.
Andre, before I let you go, I'm going to read the email of the day. This one's from Sadie, who writes, she's a married millennial woman, and she says, every friend of mine who's a single woman would actually prefer to be dating or married. I can think of 15 friends over the age of 25 in multiple states in this category. They wanted to date in college and since college, but are rarely asked. I'm writing because I think it would be valuable to consider the factors that have resulted in a difference in the way men who are millennials approach relationships as well as women. So it's a big one because there's just no question that men have changed. And they've changed as a result of what has happened in the last several decades, because the rules are so confusing that they truly believe, and I've talked about this before, we've talked about this before, it all goes back to sex. It's always about sex. That's how this whole thing changed. The minute commitment ceased to be an issue and all you wanted was sex and you were going to act like a man or whatever, and sex was so freely and readily available, it changed the whole dynamic. So now men don't have to work as hard to get that relationship that everybody wants. And so in addition to that shifting things, what also shifted is that men don't necessarily have to be the pursuers anymore, right? The hunters. So I cannot tell you how many women I hear from who are under, say, 35, I guess I would say.
Yep.
Where I appreciate all these ideas, Suzanne, but at the end of the day, they don't know what they're doing. They won't pursue because they've been taught, because it's all been so screwed up that they're not coming up to them. So if they waited for the man to pursue, they'd be waiting forever because he won't. Mm-hmm. So she just wanted me to address that actually everything that has changed has affected, of course, men as well as women, which is true.
Well, when you shame men for who they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is, they handle their stuff and they conquer the world, they conquer their lives, they conquer their fears, right? They build their character. That's what men do. But if you say, oh, this is toxic, and, you have a penis, so you're dangerous, and you're a rapist, by the way, you didn't know this. They teach that in college, by the way.
Yep.
You have a penis, you're dangerous, you're a rapist. You just didn't know that, let me tell you. So if you shame them out of doing everything that's impulsively, instinctually masculine, which is to go and conquer and make things happen, right? I call this a appropriate level of aggression, right? Aggressive personality, the pulse of that, which is masculine to make things happen. If you shame men out of that, they do nothing.
They do nothing.
Because they can't. Because they don't. There's something they have to build with themselves. It's like muscle building. Right? They have to conquer their fears. They have to conquer themselves. They have to conquer their self-doubt. They have to conquer the fact that they may not be fully confident, like they like to show off, right? Or pretend to be, like that front that they put up, right? This has to be built. It's a muscle that has to be flexed. It's a life that has to be built for them to feel confident and be capable and know that they're capable. But if you keep them from doing that, they can't do anything. And then they count on women to do it. That's what's happening.
That's what's happening. And it's, I mean, those are the two things. They're really the sex thing and the toxic masculinity thing. If we change just those two things, you'd have a completely different generation of men. And I mean, whether or not that's going to happen, only time will tell. I mean, in terms of in big numbers, there'll always be, people in each group. But it's a big deal. I mean, we're in the crux of it now. So,
I know.
I feel bad for millennials. I really do. They have a lot of strikes against them.
I know, and not knowing, they think that's normal. And,
I know.
And they even embrace, this is where I get really saddened, is when they even embrace this idea that being masculine in any way is toxic and dangerous. Mm-hmm. They join the world of women thinking it's better. They actually join the world of women and be feminine thinking that's going to make them attractive to women. We know that it doesn't, right? Nobody wants these guys. The women don't want them. The guys, want nothing to do with them. And so it's a terrible, terrible disservice. It's interesting it's a cultural thing on this side of the world more than anywhere else. Like in Europe, throughout most of Europe, they still raise boys to be masculine. As soon as they turn 15 or 16, they put them into some wood workshop, metal work, right? They get them to, they go into trade schools and learn to use their hands and build and create things and sort of build their confidence. So in the result is they still encourage men to go and be men and build their lives about the masculinity appropriately. So to say this to women, there's data on this now that, European men are 10 years more mature than American men from the lifestyle, from the way they're raised.
American men are always talking about how European, well, not necessarily European, but women in other countries are more feminine than, of course, in America. So we all need to switch up.
Completely. So a 20-year-old European man is as mature as a 30-year-old American. That's you see it? I mean,
that's a problem. I
have a neighbor across the street from me. He's 24 years old, comes from Russia. 24 years old, 2 businesses. Mm. he has what do you call it? Residual income coming in on the side without him working. 24.
Mm. I can hear millennial women saying now, "Bring him to me. Where are they?
Yeah.
We need somebody."
He's thin, tall, he's handsome, he's got his stuff together, but he's European, he's Russian. They go after their lives. They know that's what we used to do here in the 50s. Well, not anymore.
Well, we're not going to solve all these problems today, Andre. That's for sure.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we'll have to wait till attempt to solve them in 4 weeks when you come back.
Okay.
How's that?
Okay. That
okay. So I hope you're doing well with all this coronavirus stuff, and the sun is still shining out there in LA.
Yeah, no, it's not as bad in the sun somehow. It's just not.
It just never is it?
It's not.
Awesome. Okay, Andre. Well, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you next time.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Andre. See you later. And that ends this hour of the Suzanne Venker Show. Don't forget to tune in next week when I talk to Gina Arnold, a young female New Yorker who was raised to be a feminist and who wisely rejected it. She represents the voice of millions of young, silenced millennials. And if you haven't done so already, don't forget to continue the conversation on Facebook, where we've set up a private group that you can join. Just type in the Suzanne Venker Show in the Facebook search bar and you will find it. And if you have a question or comment for me, email me at suzanne@thesuzannevenkershow.com. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a great week.